So in that USA Australia exhibition game, Josh Giddey put up 17 points on 7 of 18 shooting, but also chipped in 8 boards and 7 dimes. Yeah. And there were people in our comments while we were talking about Summer League and Matas Buzelas being like, well, what about Josh Giddey? So what about Josh Giddey? Should Bulls fans put any weight into these, and these are just exhibition games so far, but then also, like, we're expecting this Australia team to be pretty competitive. Like, Patty Mills, I think, dropped a near 40-point game for them in their exhibition win over Serbia.
Yeah.
I think
they've got a squad.
I think that tells you everything you need to know.
It's the
right?
Patty Mills dropping 40?
Patty Mills is dropping 40. Like,
okay.
It's similar to Summer League where, like, it's easy to confirm your bias here. If you see something you don't like from Giddey, it's like, oh, well, look, they're leaving him wide open in the corner. Of course he's going to, like, miss that 3 or make that 3 or whatever. Sure. Whatever confirms your bias. If he scores, 17 points and has 8 rebounds and 7 assists, it's like, well, look at the numbers that he's going to be able to put up. Like, I think there's some truth in all of it. I think you're not really able to take anything substantial from any of it either because it's just not the same. Like, you can play against the NBA, but we also watched Carly Jones really struggle to, like, get into the lane and make layups at the NBA level. And he was the G League MVP, and then he was dominating against Team USA. So it's just, like, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's obviously nice to see him play well, but there are times where he's being completely left alone on the other side of the court, and he's just by himself, and they're giving him shots. And I think that is something that probably hurts you in the NBA a little bit more than in this international game because of the 3-second rule. So I don't know. It's nice to see him playing well. Some of the, like, passes that he's able to make and, like, just watching how creative a player he is, the inbounds passes, the creativity, getting up the floor, getting into the paint, like, that's all good stuff that you want to see. But I just don't know that it directly translates to anything at the NBA level other than look at some of the stuff he can do.
Let me simplify it. What percentage of stock do you put in what you see from Josh Giddey during this?
I don't know, like 15 or 20%.
Okay. You?
Yeah, I mean, probably around the same, but I think that maybe what Bulls fans are looking at when they see Giddey playing with his Team Australia teammates, and, he was talking about that. There was a little interview clip of him on ESPN after that exhibition game against USA. He's saying, USA team has been thrown together. Australia, a lot of these other countries, we have our cores that have been together for years.
Right.
Bulls fans saw that version of Giddey again as a guy who got a lot of touches for Australia and was sort of, being a floor general, being, a point guard of sorts and finding great looks for his teammates in transition, his crafty passing that we all are aware of, and saying we kind of lost that version or, forgot about that version of Giddey, whose role was significantly diminished on an OKC team that went a different direction offensively with the rise of MVP SGA and all the other, wonderful talented pieces they had, Jalen Williams and all that. So maybe there's, like, a little bit of optimism trying to be bloomed from Bulls fans of, like, this version of Josh Giddey, I think, is the one that AK was obsessed with and wanted to trade for.
That's a great point.
And I think that's also why I think there are people who are really down on the Josh Giddey trade. Because
of this?
It's easy to see what he can do with the ball in his hands. Right. He can put up 18, 7, and 8. That's great. But, like, the problem is, does that lead to winning at the NBA level? And if not, and he doesn't have the ball in his hands, now you're looking at an OKC Thunder team that has better players, and he doesn't fit into that. So I think it kind of goes both ways, where, like, you look at players like, these kind of heliocentric, I would say it's like the myth of the heliocentric star, right? You have players like LeBron and prime James Harden and Luka Doncic who are like, and Trae Young, everything revolves around me. Sure. There's 4 guys who can space, or there's a big who sets screens and rolls hard and I throw lobs to them. But really, it's give me the ball every possession, and I will run a pick and roll, or I will isolate, and I will make a decision on this play.
Right.
And it looks great when it works, right? It's LeBron James winning 4 or 5 championships, whatever he has. Sure. It's Luka Doncic getting to the finals. It's James Harden winning multiple MVPs. And even then, it's so difficult to win at the highest level when you play that way. Sure. In order to do that, you have to be so ungodly good at basketball to where it's just such a high bar that it's almost not worth playing that way. And I think that's part of the issue that we had with DeRozan over the last couple of years was, like, he was incredible, but even as good as he wasn't good enough to make the Bulls a playoff team, let alone, like, a championship caliber team. And so now you bring in another player like Giddey, who has a similar flaw in his game. And again, I'm not saying Giddey can't get better. He's 21 years old. I think he will improve in certain areas, but he has the same flaw. It's like Ben Simmons, for example, where it's like you put the ball in his hands because if you don't have the ball in his hands, he can be really bad. But when you put the ball in his hands, how good is he really? And how good is he making you as a team? And that's the question. I understand the criticism there, and I understand why people are concerned about that. But I also think he can still add a lot of value because he's supremely talented as a passer. He can be an extra, make the extra pass, keep the ball moving. He can attack and get downhill. But at the end of the day, if teams aren't guarding him, then you're playing 4-on-5. No matter how good he is, that's impossible to win.
So Rob just kind of brought up something similar in the comments saying the hope is Giddey with these Bulls players. Can he possibly help peak their potential? So, Dave, it's not necessarily just about how much better can Josh Giddey, the individual, 3-layer threat be on the offensive end, but can he make his teammates better? And can you get additional steps of we've never seen this version of Patrick Williams, for example. Yeah. And look what happens when he plays with Josh Giddey.
Yeah, and that is exactly what I kind of wanted to bring up. And also, I will not let you besmirch the name of DeMar DeRozan. How dare you, sir?
It's not a besmirch.
I know.
Far from it.
I'm messing with you, Will. That's what I do.
I like how we also both immediately corrected him when he said LeBron.
Four or five.
Whatever it is.
It's four.
Should be 3.
It should be. But Josh Giddey, and I love the point you made that whatever you're looking for, you're kind of going to see from Josh Giddey. If you're looking for him to be that dominant, put up near triple doubles, you'll see it. If you're looking for him to be like a dude who can't shoot and control a lot of things on the team because he's not great defensively and things like, you're going to see it. Watching him in these Olympics, I agree with you on the 15 or 20%. Because I put a little stock in it, but I think that's as much as you can put in these things right here. Because of the guys that you mentioned, like a Patty Mills going crazy on these guys. Or who's my man, Evan Fournier, going insane, you know what I mean, on these teams out here. So I put stock in it, but just not a ton of it. But he can play. I think that's the bottom line of all of this. He can play, and he wants to. He's competitive. You can see when he's out there playing for this squad that he really wants to win these games out here playing. So when he puts up 17, 9, and 8, keep going down that stat sheet because you'll get the turnovers and see he gave up 7. You know what I mean? Like, you'll see that as well. So you're going to get those things from Josh Giddey this year. He's going to be putting up those Hakeem numbers as far as turnovers are concerned. So instead of 11 blocks, you might get 11 turnovers from Josh Giddey. That's a great point you brought up about how he can affect other players on this Bulls team, because that's where it's really going to matter. I feel like that's where the bread is buttered. Like guys like Lonzo Ball, you were like, okay, who else is he affecting on the squad out here? We know how good he is, but who else can he affect on the squad? He affected everything on the floor as far as how it went for the Bulls. Can Josh Giddey make Patrick Williams a little bit better player? Will he affect Kobe White in his game? Will Ayo Dosunmu play off of him a little bit better? We'll see. What does Matis look like? You know what I'm saying, with this guy right here? Will they be in transition doing their thing? Those are the questions that need to be asked and will be answered also this season when we watch Josh Giddey, because he will have the ball in his hands on multiple occasions running the offense for the Bulls.
We all silly like the mayor.